It's an election year, but it's also a weird year, you know? For some, it's the world's longest staycation, and for others, it's just the most isolated and anxious they've ever been. But for every American, the right to vote is a privilege we don't want to miss. In Wilson County, early voting begins July 17th through August 1st, with the first official general election August 6th. Let's introduce you to our town historian for Lebanon. He's a former council member, and he's also a candidate for mayor in Lebanon. Here's Rick Bell. How long have you been a resident in Lebanon?
Well, I've lived in Lebanon all my life. I was born here in 1968. My family has been here for generations. This is my home.
Let's talk about your love of history, the history of this area, and how you bring that to your platform.
For the past 20 years, I've been a professor of history at Cumberland University, and I am the city historian. So I get to study local history as well as national history too. And history is very important to the future because the decisions we make affect the future. There's all kinds of different outcomes. That's why the decisions we make now need to be responsible decisions. They need to be educated decisions. You have to have all your information. And if you have information and you study all the aspects and base your decision on that, you're doing a good job. One thing history teaches us is that if you don't know the past, you'll repeat it. And a lot of times you repeat mistakes, and obviously that's not good.
We're in a world right now that is erasing history because of feelings. How do you think we can preserve the history and preserve people's feelings too?
Well, I think the best way is to provide a greater historical context. Obviously, we have a statue on the square that tells one side of the Civil War era. Another side of the Civil War era is slavery in Wilson County. It existed, and I would like to see more information about that. But also the fact that Lebanon was divided during that time, just like Tennessee was. We have another person from Lebanon. His name is William Bowen Campbell. He's buried in Cedar Grove Cemetery, just like General Hatton is. And he was a general for the Union Army. Fort Campbell is named for William Bowen Campbell. And we don't hear much about him. And I think representing him on the square would be a good idea, too, to make sure everybody understands that the Civil War era was a complicated time period. It was a very traumatic time period for a lot of people. It involved slavery. But it also involved Lebanon and its citizens have different opinions. And we needed for that story to come out too.
So few people have really touched that subject from both sides. It takes a historian to do that. Local politics really, I think they affect people more than national politics. Is your hometown and the way that you can affect things here the reason that you're running for mayor?
Absolutely. You know, there's no saying that all politics is local. And I really believe that local officials affect us on a day-to-day basis more than national officials do. You know, we see each other on the street. We see each other in restaurants. We can call up our mayor and our city councilors. And that really has affected my decision to run for mayor. You know, I believe that Lebanon is at a crossroads right now. Our future could go several different directions. And I think that I bring some qualities to the mayor's office that can help us in a positive direction. One of those is the ability to communicate with the citizens, to communicate with the city council, the department heads, but also communicate with people throughout Middle Tennessee, other leaders. Other towns face the same opportunities and challenges that we face. It's always good to learn from other people who are going through the same thing. But there's really two sides to communication. The other side is listening. And I really believe you should listen to people as a leader. Listen to constituents. Listen to, again, the city councilors. Listen to your department heads, because there are people out there who have different ideas, different areas of knowledge. One person doesn't know everything. You need to listen to people in order to be educated. And then you take that information and you make an educated decision. The mayor has to make decisions, tough decisions. But if you make educated decisions, then you can make a good one. Also, I think that in the mayor's office, we should have a sense of urgency. You know, this is a growing area. And I know right now, you know, we're going through COVID and things have gotten off track, but I believe it's coming back. And we cannot let growth get ahead of us. We have to plan for it. And if we plan for it, then we can take advantage of the opportunities and also face the challenges as well. And help Lebanon keep its identity of the town I grew up in.
A lot of people refer to Nashville as the town that outgrew its britches too quick. How are some things in your platform going to protect Lebanon from that happening to Lebanon?
Well, I think the first thing is you have to have smart growth. And smart growth involves different aspects. The first thing is we have to protect our established neighborhoods. We have some neighborhoods that have been here for decades. They're great places to live, and we can't let something come in and be placed right in the middle of them. When I was on council, there was a development that wanted to come in on Blair Lane, which is an area that's been there since before I was born. And it didn't match, so we defeated it. We made sure that didn't happen. Now, if we have an open field out here somewhere, on some highway where there's nobody living out there, that may be a place where we can put some things. But we have to protect our established neighborhoods. We have to think smartly as far as commercial development. We have several interstate exits, and we do not utilize all of them. I really believe that we could use those not only to bring in restaurants that people here badly want, also shopping opportunities, but also create corridors into the city that are attractive, that bring people further into town. And so when I was on city council, we established a couple of things. One was the Hartman Drive corridor study. The study is completed, but the plan has not been put in place yet. We also did the Sparta Pike economic study. That was never put in place. So I really feel like that, these are things that have gone on for years now. We can't wait years to plan, because if you wait years, then things can get ahead of you, and you really lose that sense of control. And maybe that's what happened in Nashville, but we can't let it happen here.
What I see in you, and I just kind of intuit, is an innate love of this place, and you want to protect this place. And I think that's really important. That comes across. Let's talk about education.
Obviously as an educator, that's important to me in my life, and that's something that I think we do a good job here. The Lebanon Special School District is a great organization. They do a great job over there. Scott Benson is the director. And I think the people who go to those schools understand those are quality educational opportunities. But there's another part of education as well, and that is, college education. Where I work at Cumberland University, that's a really important part of our community, I believe. Not every town has a 4-year university. That's something that I believe, is a jewel in our crown. But also, I think we need education in the workforce. We need workforce development. In new fields such as technology and other aspects, we need to make sure that people here can get quality jobs, but also they're able to be ready for those quality jobs. And I know that's something that the Chamber of Commerce has been working on for a while, but also I think it's something that the City of Lebanon can help with, because, we need to attract good jobs here. And jobs go to where the workforce is. And I really think that's an important part of it.
When it comes to attracting corporations and companies to Lebanon, we already have quite a few, and we do a lot of work. As far as attracting industry, what are some things that you see that we could do better?
I really feel like that we're sitting in a good spot. We're on the airport side of Nashville. The City of Lebanon has an airport, a municipal airport that stays pretty busy, that's capable of handling a lot of traffic. I really think we're missing an opportunity of bringing in corporate headquarters and those types of jobs. To attract those jobs, you need several things. One is quality of life. They look for that. They look for the families. What would they be doing when they're not in the office? What is there for their kids? Are there parks? Are there greenways? What kind of restaurants do we have? What kind of shopping do we have? So bringing in those types of jobs is a two-way street. We want them, but we have to offer something for them as well. And I think quality of life is a big part of that. In fact, quality of life is a big part of my platform. And quality of life can include a lot of things. Feeling safe in your home and your neighborhood. It also means handling traffic issues, because I hear all the time, I can't get across town. Well, there's ways to manage that. I went through the Transit Citizen Leadership Academy, and there I learned some different techniques to attack traffic issues. Quality of life is very important, and I think as a city, that's the way we can attract the jobs that we want, is providing what they want.
When it comes to arts and culture, that's another quality of life thing. Being a university professor, it's very important to what you do. We have a lot of arts and culture here. Are there ways to expand that?
Oh, absolutely. Cumberland, we have the Symphony on the Lawn every year. And, I think that's something that's great. It's such a big crowd. It brings a lot of people to campus, but it provides people an opportunity to hear the symphony. I think we can have more things like that. Obviously, on Cumberland's campus, it's a wide open space. That's a great place to do that. We could have opportunities like that in our parks. We could have an art walk in our park. around our square. The county has a mural program now. I was at the unveiling of the Veterans mural the other day, and we have a lot of those now. And I know they're going to expand that. There's opportunity for music. There's opportunity for art. We're primed for that. We're in an area of artists, and all we have to do is just get them here.
We are living in some very troublesome times, and you mentioned feeling safe. Lebanon has been virtually untouched so far by, God forbid, the violence and things that have been happening elsewhere in Middle Tennessee. In your platform, is there anything to police the police force, or how do you support the force? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, actually, during the protests, I contacted the police chief, Mike Justice, and asked him to provide me with their protocols of subduing suspects. The Lebanon Police Force already has a rule that says you do not cut off people's airways when you subdue them. Obviously, violent force, gun use is a last-ditch resort. I believe they do a good job, but I also know there's always room for improvement. Chief Justice is working on that. He's one of the very good department heads of the city, and I really have faith that he will make sure that our police department stays on the right track. That being said, I know there are people who still feel unsafe. I think there needs to be, more community outreach in that area, maybe education, just talking to people, being around people when you're not there to arrest people and create a relationship. I think that helps out a lot too. In our past, we've had issues. We really have. Our job is to make sure we do not have those issues in the future. And our force can always look to improve themselves, undoubtedly, but I believe they do a good job.
If you were to look into the eyes of your constituents right now, what would you tell them? What would be your elevator pitch to vote for you?
I would tell them that I'm a Lebanon native. I love this city, and I'm going to be here forever. I'm not one of these people who is going to move off to Florida and retire. I'm going to retire right here. And the decisions I make obviously will affect their future, but it's going to affect my future too. And I want Lebanon to go, as I said, in a positive direction. I want us to have smart growth to make sure we don't get overwhelmed. I want us to have quality of life. And I want us to hold on to Lebanon's identity. I believe that's something that happens to suburban communities throughout the country. They get overwhelmed and they lose who they are. We can't do that. And who we are is protecting our history, protecting our way of life, making sure that in the future, this is a great place to live, just like it was in my past as I was growing up here. And that's a great place to live for everyone. People of all ages, people from all backgrounds, in all parts of town. We need to make sure that Lebanon will be the place that everybody wants to be. And that's my pitch, to make sure that Lebanon holds on to what it is. Because as the future comes, change will come. But we can't let change who we are.
Find out more about Rick Bell at rickbellformayor.com. Early voting in Wilson County is July 17th through August 1st, general election August 6th. For voting locations and questions, go to wilsonelections.com. I'm Devin O'Day. This segment was underwritten by Rick Bell for Mayor, Adrian Kelley Treasurer.